11 things an intelligent person never says. People often think intelligence is about how much you know, how fast you analyze, or how many books you've read. But true intelligence reveals itself in something far more subtle: your words. Because what you choose not to say can shape your relationships, your reputation, your opportunities, and even your inner peace. Smart people understand that words are tools. They can build trust or destroy it. They can open doors or close them forever. They can calm a situation, or ignite a fire you can't control. Intelligent people don't just think before they speak. They understand that every sentence carries consequences. So, over time, they develop habits, specific phrases they will never use, no matter how angry, insecure, or emotional they feel. In this video, we're going to break down 11 things an intelligent person never says, and why removing these sentences from your life will instantly make you more respected, more confident, and more powerful in how you communicate. Some of these phrases seem harmless. Some are things almost everyone says without thinking. Some will force you to confront parts of yourself, your fears, your pride, or your desire for validation. But if you learn to eliminate them, you'll not only sound smarter, you'll become smarter in how you think, how you act, and how you respond to the world. Let's begin. Thing 1, I already know that. One of the fastest ways to reveal a lack of intelligence is to say the words, I already know that. It may seem like a harmless phrase, but it sends a message that goes far beyond the words themselves. When someone says this, they're not expressing confidence, they're exposing insecurity. They're showing that they value appearing smart more than actually becoming smarter. Intelligent people understand one simple truth. Every moment, every situation, and every person can teach you something, if you let them. When you insist, I already know, you shut the door to learning. You block new information before it even arrives. Instead of curiosity, you choose ego. And ego is the enemy of growth. A wise person knows that even if they've heard something before, hearing it again might reveal a new nuance, a deeper insight, or a perspective they never considered. They understand that repetition is not a threat, it's an opportunity. The Stoics believed that wisdom required constant reminders. Even ancient emperors like Marcus Aurelius reread the same lessons every day, not because he didn't know them, but because he needed to reinforce them. When you say, I already know that, the person in front of you immediately feels dismissed. It signals that you are not interested in listening, not open to ideas, and not willing to learn. It makes people less willing to share knowledge with you in the future. And ironically, the moment you claim you know everything is the moment you stop knowing anything at all. Intelligent people choose a different path. Instead of closing the conversation, they open it. Instead of defending their intelligence, they expand it. They ask questions like, interesting, how do you see it? What made you think of that? What's your perspective on it? These simple questions reveal humility, emotional maturity, and strength. They show that learning is more important than pride. True intelligence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It absorbs. It reflects. It asks. It evolves. If you want to develop the mindset of a truly intelligent person, replace, I already know that, with something far more powerful. I'm listening. Because intelligence is not proven by how much you claim to know, it's proven by how willing you are to understand. Thing 2, that's just how I am. One of the most limiting sentences a person can say is, that's just how I am. At first, it sounds like honesty. Almost like self-awareness. But in reality, this phrase is nothing more than a cage, a mental prison disguised as personality. It's a declaration that you refuse to grow, refuse to adapt, and refuse to take responsibility for your own behavior. Intelligent people never say this because they understand a simple truth. Who you are is not fixed. It's a choice you make every day. When someone says, that's just how I am, what they really mean is, I don't want to change. Or even worse, I don't want to try. It becomes an excuse to avoid self-improvement. An excuse to stay reactive. An excuse to justify the behaviors that push others away: impatience, anger, laziness, impulsiveness, insecurity. But intelligent people know that personality is not destiny. Humans evolve. The brain rewires. Habits shift. Mindsets transform. The person you were last year, last month, or even yesterday does not have to be the person you are tomorrow. Stoic philosophy teaches that character is built through deliberate action. You become patient by practicing patience. You become calm by practicing calmness. You become disciplined by taking disciplined actions. Nothing about your identity is permanent unless you choose to keep it that way. Saying, "That's just how I am," stops growth. It turns weaknesses into permanent labels. It blocks opportunities to improve relationships, communication, and emotional control. It makes other people feel like you're unwilling to meet them halfway, as if the responsibility of adapting always falls on everyone else. Intelligent people speak differently. Instead of shutting the door, they open it. They say things like, "I'm working on it. I want to improve that. I didn't handle that well, let me do better." These statements require humility, strength, and emotional courage. They show you are someone who takes responsibility for your behavior rather than hiding behind it. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is difficult. But refusing to change is far more damaging. Your future self depends on the choices you make now, not the excuses you repeat. So instead of saying, "That's just how I am," say something far more powerful. "This is who I am becoming." Because intelligent people don't define themselves by their limitations. They define themselves by their ability to rise above them. Thing 3: It's not my fault. One of the clearest signs of emotional immaturity is the sentence, "It's not my fault." It may feel comforting to say it. It removes responsibility, protects the ego, and creates the illusion that you're innocent. But intelligent people avoid this phrase because they understand something far more powerful. You can't control everything, but you are responsible for how you respond to everything. Blaming others is a defense mechanism. It shields you from discomfort. It allows you to avoid facing your own part in a situation. But it also does something far worse: it steals your power. When everything is someone else's fault, you become a passenger in your own life. You give up control over your choices, your behavior, and your future. Intelligent people know that responsibility is not about accepting blame for everything that happens. It's about acknowledging your role, your influence, and your ability to change the outcome next time. They don't say, "It's not my fault," even when they could. Instead, they ask, "What can I learn from this? How could I have handled it better? What can I improve moving forward?" This shift in mindset transforms a problem into a lesson, and a mistake into a step toward growth. When someone repeatedly says, "It's not my fault," people stop trusting them. They seem defensive, fragile, closed-minded. They become the kind of person others can't rely on, because taking responsibility feels like an attack rather than an opportunity. The truth is, blaming others keeps you stuck. It prevents you from correcting your behavior, refining your decisions, and evolving into a wiser version of yourself. It creates a pattern where you protect your pride at the cost of your progress. But intelligent people view responsibility differently. They see it as strength. They understand that even when they didn't cause a situation, they can still control how they respond. They can control how they move forward. And that's where real power lies. Saying, "It's not my fault," ends the conversation. Saying, "Here's what I can do next time," begins your transformation. The Stoics taught that you should focus only on what is within your control. You can't rewrite the past, but you can rewrite who you become because of it. Mature people know that every challenge, every mistake, every misunderstanding carries a hidden chance to grow stronger. So replace, "It's not my fault," with something far more intelligent. "I'll take responsibility for my part." Or even more powerful, "Let me learn from this." Because intelligence is not proven by how well you defend yourself. It's proven by how bravely you grow. Thing 4. I don't care. At first glance, saying, I don't care, may seem like emotional strength. It sounds like detachment, confidence, or independence. But intelligent people avoid this phrase because it usually signals the opposite: insecurity, defensiveness, and a fear of appearing vulnerable. Most of the time, I don't care is not a statement of calmness, it's an emotional shield. People say it when they feel hurt, embarrassed, or overwhelmed. It's a way to dismiss a situation before it has the chance to expose something deeper. But intelligent people understand that pretending not to care is not strength. Real strength is staying calm while still acknowledging reality. When you repeatedly say, I don't care, people eventually believe you. They stop opening up to you. They stop sharing ideas. They stop involving you in meaningful conversations. Not because they think you're strong, but because they feel you're disconnected, defensive, or emotionally unavailable. True intelligence lies in choosing your words consciously, understanding that indifference can destroy trust faster than anger. Intelligent people don't rush to detach. They don't pretend things don't matter. Instead, they stay composed and choose responses that maintain clarity and respect. When something doesn't matter, they express it without hostility. I see your point, but this isn't a priority for me. When I think about it, it doesn't affect my direction. That's interesting, but not something I'm focused on right now. These responses show maturity, not indifference. They communicate boundaries without shutting the door. Saying, I don't care, also blocks emotional awareness, which is an essential part of intelligence. If you keep denying your feelings, you lose the ability to understand them. Intelligent people don't fear their emotions, they observe them. They know that emotions are signals, not weaknesses. The Stoics taught emotional mastery, not emotional denial. They didn't pretend life didn't affect them, they simply refused to be controlled by reactions. They processed events logically, calmly, and intentionally. That's what intelligent people do today, they stay grounded, not numb. Indifference is often used as a mask. But growth requires honesty. Strength requires clarity. Intelligence requires awareness. Saying, I don't care, avoids all three. You don't need to shut down to stay strong. You don't need to pretend nothing matters to protect yourself. Instead of saying, I don't care, choose something more powerful. I'm staying calm. I'm not letting this control me. I choose where to put my energy. Because intelligent people don't hide behind indifference. They rise above emotional chaos with awareness and intention. Thing 5, that's impossible. One of the quickest ways to limit your own potential is to say, that's impossible. It seems like a simple statement, but its impact is enormous. When you declare something impossible, you shut down your creativity, your courage, and your willingness to explore solutions. You don't just limit the situation, you limit yourself. Intelligent people never use this phrase because they understand a fundamental truth. Most things that seem impossible are simply things you haven't learned how to do yet. History is full of people who were told their ideas were impossible, until they did them. Every breakthrough, every invention, every transformation began with someone who refused to accept the word impossible. Intelligent people know that the world changes too quickly, and human potential is too vast, to limit themselves with such a final, rigid belief. When you say, that's impossible, your brain stops looking for answers. It shuts off problem-solving mode and enters defeat mode. But when you ask, how could this be possible, your mind starts searching for strategies, alternatives, and creative solutions. The difference between a closed mind and an intelligent one is often just a single question. Saying, that's impossible, also reveals fear, fear of failure, fear of effort, fear of stepping into the unknown. Intelligent people don't pretend everything is easy, but they approach challenges with curiosity rather than avoidance. They know that difficulty is not the same as impossibility. The Stoics believed that obstacles were meant to be used, not feared. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Intelligent people think exactly like this. When something seems out of reach, they lean in. They experiment. They break the problem into pieces. They seek advice. They learn what they don't yet know. Because every skill can be learned, every weakness can be improved, and every barrier has a point where it cracks. When you say, "That's impossible," people around you lose confidence, not just in your abilities, but in your mindset. No one wants to build, grow, or solve problems with someone who gives up before trying. Intelligent people use different language. They say, "It's difficult, but let's see what we can do. I don't know how yet, but I can learn. It might take time, but it's worth trying." These phrases keep doors open. They keep the mind alive. They keep possibilities alive. The truth is, almost everything that changes your life starts as something that feels too big, too hard, too uncertain. But growth demands that you challenge your limits, not protect them. So replace "that's impossible" with the mindset of intelligence. Let me try. Because the moment you believe something is possible, your life starts moving in that direction. Thing 6, I already know that. One of the most dangerous sentences an intelligent person avoids is, "I already know that." It may sound confident, but in reality, it reveals a closed mind. When you say that you already know something, you block yourself from learning more about it. You shut down curiosity, humility, and the ability to grow. Intelligent people understand that knowing is not the same as mastering. You can know something and still fail to apply it. You can know something and still misunderstand it. You can know something and still benefit from hearing it again from a new angle, with new context, or at a new stage in your life. Saying, "I already know that," makes your ego feel tall, but it keeps your mind small. The truth is, repetition is a key part of wisdom. The Stoics repeated the same principles daily, not because they forgot, but because they understood that humans drift. We forget what matters. We get distracted. We lose clarity. So even if you know, you still need reminders to live it out. Intelligent people stay open. When they hear something familiar, they don't dismiss it, they examine it. They ask, "What am I missing? How can I apply this better? What new insight can I pull from this now?" This mindset turns even basic lessons into powerful growth. But when you say, "I already know that," you create a barrier between you and the truth. People around you stop sharing ideas. They stop giving feedback. They stop offering knowledge. Not because they don't want to help, but because they see that your mind is closed. The fastest way to stunt your progress is to believe there is nothing left to learn. Intelligent people accept that mastery is a lifelong process. A lesson you heard 5 years ago can hit differently today because you're a different person with different experiences. Wisdom grows with you, and so does your understanding of it. This phrase also reveals insecurity. People use it to hide the fact that they're overwhelmed, confused, or unwilling to admit they don't fully understand something. Humility requires saying, "Let me hear it again." Confidence requires listening even when your ego says you don't need to. Curiosity is a sign of intelligence. Dismissiveness is a sign of stagnation. The Stoics themselves, some of the wisest thinkers in history, learned the same lessons every day. They didn't say, "I already know that." They said, "Let me practice it again." That's what separates growth from arrogance. Instead of saying, "I already know that," intelligent people use phrases like, "That's a good reminder. Tell me more. I've heard it, but I want to understand it better." These phrases keep the mind alive and the door of learning wide open. Because intelligence isn't proven by what you already know, but by how willing you are to keep learning. Thing 7, I don't need help. One of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage is the phrase, "I don't need help." It sounds strong, independent, even admirable. But in reality, it often reveals pride, fear, or insecurity. Intelligent people avoid this phrase because they understand a fundamental truth. No one becomes strong by doing everything alone. Saying, "I don't need help," builds an emotional wall. You protect your ego, but you block out support, growth, and connection. You pretend your load is light, even when it's crushing you. And the more you rely on this sentence, the more isolated, overwhelmed, and stagnant you become. Intelligent people know that asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. It shows self-awareness. It shows humility. It shows a willingness to learn from others instead of trying to prove everything alone. It's a sign that you value progress more than pride. The truth is, every successful person you admire has leaned on mentors, teachers, or peers at some point. No one rises in complete isolation. Even the strongest minds need guidance, feedback, and new perspectives. Intelligent people understand that two minds see more than one, and collaboration accelerates growth. When you say, "I don't need help," you also deprive others of the chance to connect with you. People want to contribute. They want to feel useful. They want to support those they care about. Rejecting help doesn't make you strong, it makes you unreachable. Over time, people stop offering. Not because they don't care, but because you taught them that you prefer to struggle alone. Intelligent people use help strategically. They ask for clarity when they're confused. They seek direction when they're stuck. They lean on experience when tackling something new. They know that life becomes easier, goals become faster, and decisions become smarter when they allow others to be part of the process. The Stoics never promoted isolation, they promoted self-discipline. They believed that humans grow through community, dialogue, and shared wisdom. Even the greatest Stoic thinkers exchanged letters, debated ideas, and learned from others. Wisdom is strengthened through connection, not solitude. Saying, "I don't need help," also blocks emotional vulnerability. It keeps you trapped in an image of perfection. But true intelligence acknowledges limits. It recognizes that you can be capable and still need support. Strong and still need guidance. Independent and still need connection. Instead of shutting down opportunities for growth, intelligent people say things like, "I could use another perspective. Can you walk me through this? I'd appreciate your help." These phrases don't weaken you, they elevate you. They open doors. They build trust. They create momentum. Because in the end, refusing help is choosing struggle. Accepting help is choosing growth. And that's why an intelligent person never says, "I don't need help." Thing 8, it's too late for me. One of the most limiting beliefs a person can hold is the idea that, "It's too late for me." This sentence kills ambition before it even begins. It shuts down progress, motivation, and self-belief. Intelligent people never say this phrase because they understand that time is not the enemy, your mindset is. "It's too late," is what people say when they compare themselves to others. When they see someone who succeeded earlier, moved faster, or started younger, they convince themselves that they've missed their chance. But intelligent people know that comparison is a trap. Life doesn't reward the person who starts the earliest, it rewards the person who doesn't quit. Saying, "It's too late," is just another way of saying, "I'm afraid to begin." Intelligent people understand something powerful. You are never too old, too late, or too far behind to reinvent yourself. People start careers in their 40s. They build families in their 50s. They launch businesses in their 60s. Some even find their purpose in their 70s. Life continues to offer opportunities to those who are willing to reach for them. The phrase, "It's too late for me," comes from fear, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of wasted effort. But intelligent people focus not on what they've lost, but on what they can still build. They know that time will pass anyway, so they might as well spend it creating something meaningful. The Stoics taught that the present moment is all that truly exists. Regretting the past or fearing the future only drains your power. What matters is what you choose right now. Intelligent people anchor themselves in the present, not in regret. They don't ask, is it too late? They ask, what can I do today? Saying, it's too late for me also disconnects you from possibilities. You assume your story is already written when, in reality, you are still holding the pen. Intelligent people see their life as a series of chapters, not a closed book. Even if previous chapters were filled with mistakes, stagnation, or missed opportunities, a new chapter can redefine the entire story. The truth is, the moment you believe it's too late, your life stops moving. But when you believe you can begin again, everything opens. Intelligent people replace this phrase with more empowering ones. It's not too late, I'm starting now. I can still grow. I still have time to become who I want to be. These sentences don't just change your language, they change your direction. Great transformations don't require youth, they require courage. They require the willingness to take the first step, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if others doubt you, even if you doubt yourself. Because the only real, too late, is the moment you stop trying. And that's why an intelligent person never says, it's too late for me. Thing 9, it's not my fault. One of the most revealing signs of emotional immaturity is the phrase, it's not my fault. Intelligent people avoid this sentence because they understand something crucial. Blame might protect your ego, but it destroys your growth. When you say, it's not my fault, you may feel justified for a moment, but you also surrender control over your own life. You shift responsibility to someone else, which means the solution now depends on someone else too. Intelligent people know that if they didn't create the problem, they can still choose how to respond to it. Taking responsibility is not about guilt, it's about empowerment. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility moves you forward. Intelligent people recognize that life is messy. Plans fail. People disappoint. Circumstances shift unexpectedly. And while many things are not your fault, how you respond to them is your responsibility. Saying, it's not my fault, keeps you focused on the past, but taking responsibility keeps you focused on what you can change right now. The phrase, it's not my fault, also weakens your reputation. People lose trust in those who constantly blame others. It signals that you are unwilling to learn from mistakes, unwilling to adapt, and unwilling to reflect honestly. Intelligent people know that credibility comes from accountability, not perfection. The Stoics taught a powerful principle. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can always control your reaction. This is why intelligent people don't waste time defending themselves or denying responsibility. They ask different questions. What can I learn from this? What could I have done better? How do I prevent this in the future? These questions strengthen your character instead of protecting your ego. Saying, it's not my fault, may feel like a shield, but it actually exposes you. It reveals insecurity, fear of judgment, and a fragile sense of pride. Intelligent people don't fear being wrong, they fear not improving. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means acknowledging your part honestly and then deciding how to move forward. It means choosing growth over comfort. It means being more committed to truth than to image. People respect those who say, I made a mistake. I should have handled that better. I take responsibility for my part. These sentences don't make you look weak, they make you look strong, dependable, and trustworthy. They show that you are mature enough to own your actions and wise enough to learn from them. When you remove blame from your vocabulary, you gain a powerful advantage. You stop waiting for people or circumstances to change, and you start changing yourself. And when you change yourself, your entire life begins to shift. That's why an intelligent person never says, it's not my fault. Thing 10, I don't need to learn this. One of the fastest ways to reveal a person's lack of intelligence is hearing them say, I don't need to learn this. It sounds confident, even rebellious, but in reality, it exposes something deeper, a closed mind. And nothing limits a person's future more than a mind that refuses to grow. Truly intelligent people understand a simple rule of life: ignorance is not the absence of knowledge, it is the refusal to acquire it. The moment you believe you already know enough, you stop evolving. And the world keeps moving while you stay stuck in place. When someone says, "I don't need to learn this," what they usually mean is, "I'm afraid of looking incompetent. I don't want to challenge my identity. I prefer comfort over growth." But comfort is the silent killer of potential. The more you reject new information, the more fragile your mind becomes. Intelligent people do the opposite. Even when they don't understand something, they lean in. They ask questions. They explore. They expose themselves to new ideas, different perspectives, and skills that might seem irrelevant at first, because they know that everything connects eventually. Growth is rarely linear. Sometimes you learn something today that will save you years of mistakes tomorrow. Sometimes a skill you think is useless becomes the key that unlocks an unexpected opportunity. The smartest people stay open because they know that learning is not about immediate reward, it's about long-term strength. Saying, "I don't need to learn this," is like closing the door on your own evolution. Intelligent people keep that door open, always. They would rather be beginners for a moment than remain ignorant for a lifetime. Because the truth is simple, the moment you stop learning is the moment your mind starts dying. Thing 11, this is just how I am. Few sentences reveal a lack of intelligence as clearly as, "This is just how I am." It sounds like self-acceptance, but in reality, it's self-imprisonment, a declaration that you refuse to grow, change, or improve. Intelligent people understand a basic truth: your personality is not fixed, it is a continuous construction. Every experience, every challenge, every new idea shapes who you become. To say, "This is just how I am," is to deny that evolution entirely. It is choosing stagnation over transformation. When someone uses this phrase, what they often mean is, "I don't want to take responsibility. I don't want to change my habits. I'm comfortable where I am, even if it's hurting me." It's a shield, a way to avoid the discomfort of self-reflection. Because real change begins with honesty, and honesty forces you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Intelligent people do the opposite, they see themselves as works in progress. If they have a bad habit, they don't justify it, they work on it. If they have a weakness, they don't hide behind it, they train it. If they make a mistake, they don't say, "That's just me," they ask why it happened and how to prevent it next time. They know that identity is flexible, not rigid. You can become more disciplined. You can become more patient. You can become stronger, wiser, calmer, more resilient. Nothing about you is final unless you decide it is. The phrase, "This is just how I am," kills potential. It shuts down growth, blocks progress, and turns flaws into excuses. Intelligent people refuse to let a single version of themselves define their entire future. They understand that greatness requires evolution, and evolution requires willingness. You are not a finished product. You are a continuous revision. And the moment you stop updating yourself, you start becoming outdated. Conclusion: the silent power of knowing what not to say. In the end, intelligence is not only revealed by what someone knows, but by what someone chooses to stay silent about. The words we avoid often say more about us than the ones we speak. Each of the 11 things in this video carries the same message: a wise mind protects itself by refusing to engage in behaviors that weaken clarity, dignity, and self-mastery. Intelligent people don't try to prove they're intelligent. They don't rush to defend themselves. They don't seek validation in arguments, drama, or emotional reactions. They know that every sentence you speak becomes an extension of your character, a reflection of your discipline, and a signal of your inner world. That is why they avoid excuses. They avoid blaming others. They avoid closing their minds. They avoid phrases that shrink their potential or expose their insecurities. They understand that real strength is quiet. Real confidence is calm. And real intelligence is demonstrated not through loud declarations, but through consistent self-management. Because the truth is this: Every time you speak impulsively, you give away power. Every time you justify your flaws instead of working on them, you limit your evolution. Every time you say something you don't truly mean, you betray your own growth. Intelligent people protect their inner kingdom. They choose their battles, their words, and their silences with intention. They know that emotional discipline is a rare currency, the kind that buys peace, respect, and long-term success. This video was never about avoiding simple phrases. It was about something much deeper. The mindset behind them. A mindset of curiosity instead of defensiveness. Growth instead of stagnation. Responsibility instead of excuses. Humility instead of ego. If you can eliminate these 11 phrases from your vocabulary, not superficially, but from the mindset that created them, you will transform the way people see you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. Never underestimate the power of disciplined speech. One careless sentence can ruin trust. One negative belief can limit a lifetime. But one conscious decision to speak with clarity, intention, and wisdom can change the entire direction of your life. Intelligence is not a talent. It is a practice. And it begins with the words you choose, and the ones you refuse to say.